As we go ahead and jump into this video, I want to say a big old thank you to everyone that has tuned in to watch, and this will just be the first time I say this for this, is please like and subscribe. The support will really help me out. So as you can see, it's a modded playthrough of Minecraft. This I will be building a village or civilization, to say the least. This is the Minecolonies mod with a bunch of additions added on. As you can see, I'm scrolling through the different achievements and just checking out the surrounding world. But as we continue along, you can see the map and floating islands that I'll come across. But we'll just slowly go into this. It will jump around a lot and just get a better understanding of where we're at. As we go through, you will hear a tune going along in the background. This is from Graveyard Keeper. It's a fantastic game that I hope to do a playthrough in the future. But just starting off our playthrough, it's more of an adventure, just going around seeing otters, the different animals, some of the mods like Naturalist, and a couple different ones that go through to just add a new vibrant experience to the world. I come across a catabasis, which is just a giant mine shaft and just dungeon to explore with a new mod pack. In the distance, you can see a massive structure that is also one of the dungeons from that same mod pack. I managed to find a little traver campsite and just see what I can find, as just different currencies to use and the fruits from Delightful and other mod pads to use. I do come across a Tasmanian devil that I could befriend, but we'll see. There's the whole entire animal dictionary that you can look through, which is from Naturalist or another mod, I'm pretty sure. Looking through on the Tasmanian devil, I found out that it is apparently rarely found in temperate forest biomes, which is a good indicator just where to look for them and if you want them. Granted, you are unable to tame them, but you can feed them rotten flesh to where they can unleash a howl that can scare away all nearby monsters for a short time. And it's just one of the many mobs that you can find and find a use for while playing through. I end up running around the camp a bit more, find a flowering tree, and then start to grab some wood from the camp. I want to stack up on as many resources as I can to try to find just a way to progress through. I look more through the animal dictionary after coming across a crow and want to see what it can do, because looking through the mod, there are many different creatures that you can find and get uses. While being able to be tamed with pumpkin seeds, I decided I was just gonna try to get as much information as I could from the crows and just see if it'd be worth it to tame them. But needing pumpkin seeds and trying to find them, I really wasn't too worried about it. But as looking through the dictionary, I found out you could almost use them for an automation system if that was something you were into, but it would take a while to try to understand the complexity of the automation. So I decided to just wait for right now and wasn't gonna try to tame one, but they can deal more damage to undead mobs while also damaging your field if untamed. I did see this little grave campsite, and there's also a reed bee right behind. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just left it for right now and grabbed some oranges off of this tree. For the most part right now, I was just checking my surroundings, saw a dragon that I could tame in the future over in the distance, and decided to keep my distance because they are hostile right off the bat. But as I ran around, I just seen the different leaves with apples for food, oranges, different crops. I decided to start collecting wood and just get ready for my adventure. And as I went around, I managed to find some corn and thought I'd grab some while I was here, but I had the vein mine tool, which helped gathering wood a lot easier, and I just kept looking around, just seeing what I could find, even though I didn't have a base started. Managed to find a lucky block, and to my surprise, I found another star right off the bat. Granted, I didn't have a use for it, but it was cool just to find. I managed to find a bumblebee nest, which you can add a saddle on and fly them around and use them as a mount. Then for my second lucky block, I managed to find an enchanting table, and much to my disbelief, my first two lucky blocks were another star and enchanting table, so I did feel pretty lucky. I did manage to find some tameable birds and didn't know how to tame them, had no idea. All of them were at half health, and I was able to feed one some seeds, but otherwise no luck, and figured I'd come back to them later. I looked at my map, just seeing the surrounding area of what may be around, and it looked like there's a village, and I wanted to check it out at some point. Then I looked, seen for a backpack, and managed to get the luck status of it, and just left it for right now. No idea how I got it. But I wasn't able to make a backpack right now, but found some stone and grabbed it to start getting stone tools. It started raining on me, so I just explored around a bit more and was under that massive structure. As I went around, I saw the dragon in the distance again, and then found another tameable beast, which was a Gagatoa, I believe. So I wanted to tame him, just see what he could do, but I didn't have a saddle or anything to be able to utilize him. After feeding him a couple apples, I was hoping it would encourage him to become my friend, and I didn't think he had eyes for a little bit until I hopped on his back and went into third person and realized they were just on top of his head. But as I rode him around, it took me a minute to finally tame him. I didn't know if there was something special I could do with him or add armor, didn't know if he was like a regular horse or if something else came with the mod. I was curious, however, if there was any other mobs that I could tame and just befriend to have along my journeys. After taming him though, I just looked up if there was an alternative way to make a saddle, and unfortunately I didn't have the resources to go ahead and grab one, so I'd either have to develop a civilization and get a fisher where they have a slim chance to be able to grab it, or I just make a lead out of straw, although I didn't know how to get it. But turns out you can just make a knife and cut up grass and you're able to get straw. So I went through the steps of what kind of knives I could make, and seeing how there's many different types from Farmer's Delight and Delightful, it helped me to find a way to make one. I decided to just hold off for right now before making a knife, and just decided to explore the area around me. And I realized there's little egg sets on the ground that I was able to break, and gave me some spider eyes, silk, coal, a name tag even, and then I just ran over, grabbed some pumpkins, and proceeded to get attacked by a spider. I did have a combat mod which made it really weird on swinging the gnats, but I got the Monster Hunter achievement, so I'll take what I can get. As I explored around, I noticed a structure in the distance, ran over, and it was just a spawner. So as I got closer, a zombie villager came out and realized it was a zombie villager spawner. I ran back over to the structure, and one of the parts touching the land had some coal against it, so I decided to grab it so I could make torches and any other tools that I'd need. As I got closer to the structure, I got the achievement Guns N' Roses, and after gathering a bit more of the coal, I looked through the achievements and realized how many dungeons there actually are, and it's from the Dungeons Arise mod, which adds a lot of new structures and just different areas that you can run to and just go through and explore. And with Farmer's Delight, I got Crops of the Wild and grabbed some onions that were on the side of the cliff. And there's a weird structure over to the side with an enchantment table, but the dragon was right next to it, and I wanted to stay away from it for right now, although I did see some ferrets running around on the hillside. I ran over to the ruined nether portal and looked inside the crimson chest that had a lot of good tools for me. So I grabbed the golden apple, golden shovel, and golden hoe for right now, and there was a couple of magical items that was from the Ars Nouveau mod that I was trying to decide whether to take or not, seeing as my inventory was full. I did make a flint knife to go through and use just as a simple weapon, and then to just see if I can find a good purpose for it. The abandoned village I went to ended up being an old Minecolonies civilization that I managed to find and wanted to explore and see if there's any good resources. I wanted to grab the different chests and see if there was anything in there that I may be able to use for a backpack or just something like that. I did go and explore the town hall and just see if there was any of the structures that I could just utilize in any way. I did manage to find a bed in one of the old residences and then just went from there. I did have a day tracker to just try to help me go along, but it ended up not working as well, so as it disappears throughout the video, I ended up getting rid of the mod later on. There wasn't anything so far that I could use, and I knew I wanted to have my colony in a different area. As I went to a mountainside, there was another lucky block. Seeing as though my inventory was full, I didn't know what to take and what to leave. I managed to get a block of lapis, but seeing how I still only had wooden tools, I figured I'd just leave it for right now. I did look around the mountainside and found a raccoon, but was just going to leave him for right now, and found another lucky block that I figured I'd just go ahead and grab while I was here. As I opened it up, I realized it was just a bunch of potions, but I figured I could go ahead and use some of them right now and see if there is any I just wanted to hold on to for right now. But really good potions, but seeing as I didn't have the inventory space, I figured I'd just go ahead and drink them and then just keep them for however. I filled back up my hunger before I took back off again, and then I just kept circling through of what to drink, what not to drink, and I eventually decided to keep a couple and then just drink the other ones, but mostly the ones of leaping and swiftness just to cover a bit more ground, and then just take slow falling just to kind of help me traverse and not jump off a cliff and die. So I took the one and then just decided to drink them all because I didn't have a good utility for it and keep my inventory open. As I ran over, I found a deserted campsite that had a bunch of skeletons up and around. After sorting through the chest, I did manage to find a book that gave me a bit of story of what happened here and how their allegiance was tested, and just the campsite at dusk. My mind still refuses to accept the fact that these people are already doomed potentially, and just the orders they were given and that the area needed to be cleansed. So the people dead, I continued on, managed to find a grave and explored that and to see what was inside. Searching through the coffin, there's just a bunch of books, food, and other things to look through. As I got done looting the grave, I moved around and managed to find a grasshopper. Didn't know how to tame him, but was just going to leave it from there. As I looked through the crafting menu, I didn't know what weapons were available, so I just tried different orders and moving stone and a stick around. I wanted something different than the regular sword, and I didn't want a little dagger, so I ended up choosing a stone katana to go with for right now, and had a couple of combat mods that would be paired with it, but didn't know quite how to use it yet. After playing with some weapons, I rounded over a hill and found a little sandstone structure, and it had a golem, which was the first of the sand from the mod Plenty of Golems, I think. But I believe I forgot about him later on and got distracted by a lucky block with a hero bow, and I just kind of continued on and wandered into a wooded village that I ended up figuring out was a merchant campsite, and just decided to check around a bit and see if I could find everything of value. Seeing as this was a merchant campsite, I was curious if there was anyone I could trade with, and as I ran around I just found a bunch of unemployed villagers. But when I rang the bell, it started to rain a lot, and I didn't know if that was something special or just I was able to summon rain. And one of the mod pats did not want to work with the chests, so a lot of them will be blacked out. Also managing to discover some giant roly-polies that I could apparently tame some point later on. As I searched this chest and this little gray and white tent, I was able to upgrade some tools and find some new scrolls that I may be able to do something with later on. I didn't know what to make of the campfire going through the leaves, so I wanted to clear the area up a bit and take out the little tree. As I explored more of the landscape, I ended up hitting a hotkey that opened a skill tree. I don't remember what the mod is from. I believe it is Pufferfish's skill tree, but there is mining and different combat skills. I did manage to find a rune portal off to the side and wanted to just give it a run down. And while I search this chest, just for anyone wanting to know, something that is with this mod pack, I just installed a lot of mods. So if there's different things that you may not know what it is, or just it could be any mod at this point. I really don't know all that I have. Some are very recognizable, others are just ones that I found, thought looked cool, and just went with it. So I will try to leave a full just description in the description for anyone wanting to know what it is, and maybe try to link it so you can go through your own mods and make your own mod pack. After searching around, however, I came back to this little campsite and a villager had slept in the bed, which the gravel underneath from previous had fallen through. And so I was able to take over his bed and sleep through the rainy day and night. I decided to call this just a temporary base at the moment and store my stuff, just keep looking around the area. I did manage to add a point to my skill tree and didn't know where to go with it, but there was melee damage, resistance, bow damage, and regeneration, or just more health in general. Going with the plus melee damage, I figured it'd be the best case scenario right now, and with the mining side of the tree, I didn't know at the moment that I actually needed to mine ores and get the XP to keep leveling it up. I do eventually find it out later, but as you can see, just being in combat and getting XP gives me more skills. I decided to leave my area and go check out the surrounding islands and just different areas up and around. I managed to find some archwood that was taken out and didn't know exactly what pertained to it. I didn't know if it was an old fallen tree or if there was something with it. So I went around the existing area and eventually managed to find a cave that I would end up exploring. As I stumble around looking at the entrance, a quick explanation of Ars Nouveau, which if you see in the description of the Archwood, is a magic mod that adds different creatures, a lot of spells, and just a lot of magic things. And the spells I will end up using later in my playthrough, but I have dabbled with it in my own time. But this is one of the structures that can spawn that is a part of the Ars Nouveau mod, and the wolves that you see, their items that they drop can be used in some crafting things, and they can eventually be familiars to summon later on in a spell. As I delve into this little den, I just try to explore around and see what there might be, just thinking there may be a few more enemies left, not knowing that there are some mob spawners in here. I will let you enjoy the rest of the sequence. After I had vanquished the summoned horde of wolves, I just took a second to breathe after surviving all of that, and as you see in the distance, one of the summoned wolves just disappeared. It was not actually a mob spawner, it was the wilden beast that was summoning these wolves. I realized I got some different items for it, and was able to claim the loot from the cave. Seeing as my inventory was always getting full, I decided to go with the backpack mod and managed to get enough resources to create a backpack, and I also have accessory slots that I can place different items on instead of taking up a chest plate spot and being able to equip different trinkets later on. Doing some more exploring, I came across a couple of raccoons and didn't know what they ate, so I just threw them a couple of apples and they held them in their mouths and just kept begging me for more. So I sat there and played with them a little bit longer, seeing if I had anything they may want to eat. Seeing as they were just gonna keep taking my food, I decided just leave them be and go check out the nearby lucky block that was over to the side. Noticing the netherrack and everything else, it wasn't exactly super lucky, just giving me pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. As I stumbled across a sign, it said 500 blots in a certain direction, and I got an achievement. This must be a sign. Right now I didn't exactly know, but in the future these come out to be pretty handy when looking for a village, because in 500 blots in the direction the sign is pointing is a village, so that would end up being helpful later on where I am able to just find villages real easy. Although I didn't exactly get lucky again with my next lucky block and just got a sign and some bedrock. So I left it alone and did some more exploring, which is what I do for the first however long. Is if you can't see, I try to watch my days and had a day counter mod installed, which I end up getting rid of later if you watch the video. Ended up not working how I wanted it to. But checking out the map, I found a village that was in the distance and came across a structure from the graveyard mod. It was, I don't even know how, the ossuary is how I'm pronouncing that, and it had a little cool animation when opening up. Again, didn't know at the time, but you can take bone blots and get different types of skeletons to have as decorations or other things. So it'd be really great during Halloween just to decorate your base and just make it a little bit more creepy. After messing around with some of the different skeletons and eventually putting a bone block into there, I did manage to figure out the different skeleton types I can make and maybe use as decoration later or just leaving it for right now. I did like the little urns scattered around that you could look through, but I got attacked by a zombie which ended up distracting me and I probably forgot about it. After doing a bit of trekking across these hills and the tall prairie grass, I got to a village that was overgrown with the prairie grass. And just trying to look around, see what I may be able to find, I ended up finding a waystone that I'd be able to use to move up and around a lot easier. I genuinely love a lot of these villages that come in to play here that you will see quite a lot. I don't remember what mod it is that just spruces up every village or adds it to different biomes, but I just love the time and work that was put into it, and just from vanilla Minecraft it definitely adds a lot more. And a lot of the biomes you see is from the mods Biome of Plenty and Oh the Biomes You'll Go, so that's why there is so many different ones to go through. I did manage to see on the map there was another village off to the north from where I was, but I got distracted by a little shipwreck in the water. But here's one of the little trinkets that I was able to get that ends up becoming useful with my bow. Looking at the achievements I just got, I knew there was something more, and realizing there's a lot more trinkets out there, and that I could eventually use the electric paddle for something. If you're a lot smarter than me in the moment, I didn't realize on the boat it'd make me go faster being an electric paddle. Although while exploring I did manage to find the abandoned village and some bison wandering around. I didn't realize, however, that this was a part of the colonies mod that I was using, and it was really cool to see the different village types and see what else I may be able to do with the mod that I want to choose. However, I am choosing a specific layout for this one, and it is for the Twilight Forest mod to be paired with it. But I did come across from the Vinery mod some grape bushes. I didn't know quite what to do with them, but I was able to eat the grapes for a little light snack and take some with me that I'd experiment with later. Coming across another lucky block area, I got the luck of a bunch of cats, which I can't complain. It is nice to have some companions, and I decided to take them all with me because that's cruel to just leave them all out by themselves. So I grabbed them with much difficulty through a bush and took them one by one to follow me around on the rest of my little adventure. Peering onto my map, there's a lot more spaces that I wanted to explore, and knew that the world was pretty open and I could kind of do whatever I wanted on exploring. Although I came across a blight catfish, which are usually a lot stronger enemies that have a lot more health or different status effects. Digging down into a strip mine, I managed to fall into a geode and just explored what may be up and around. I felt lucky to stumble upon a geode and didn't quite know what I wanted to do with it yet. Although I knew I needed more resources from underground, so went on a little expedition and held my torch in my hand as I went along. As I kept mining though and just checking the surrounding area, I kept hearing hissing up and around me. As I tunneled down some more, I managed to come across some lizards dressed in suits. Peering in through this little window I had made, I didn't know exactly what I had come across, but knowing the information I do now, there's these little outposts from the cryptids mod that I have, and the snake people are one of them. So I didn't know how to befriend them or if they were just friendly to begin with, and I found out really shortly that they were aggressive. So I just decided to go ahead and fight them and try to take them out because apparently these things are really common. After dealing with a lot of the snakes, I decided just leave them be, block it back off, and just leave them alone. When I managed to get into a boat, I realized what the trinket could actually do and realized how fast that I could actually go with it. So I decided to go more out to sea and just explore the coastline after depositing a bunch of my stuff. I went along with it and tried to understand the full speed. After adventuring around, I went back towards spawn and decided to try to take out the one dungeon I had went to before. And actually delving into this, I didn't realize how many enemies with bows were wandering around. As I took them all out, I realized they were going to be a bit more stronger foes to face as I went through. After running around for a while, I ended up completing that dungeon, or most of it. I just ran around and defeated a bunch of the enemies through there and looted what I can. On my way back after exiting it and dying a couple times, I grabbed the giant salamander that was below it when I first started my journey. So I went and got him after taming him, brought him back home where I have my new base currently, and on the way back I managed to find another Geckotoa and wanted to bring it home with me and see what I could do with them. I wasn't quite for sure all they could do. I knew they could jump a little bit and didn't have a terrible movement speed, but they were a small part of a larger tameable creatures list. So I just wanted to see what I could do with it and kind of go from there. I knew that I wanted to start my colony, and with the mod pack, there's a lot of different types, but one of them I had, since the create mod is within this massive mod pack that I have, there is one that is also with the Twilight Forest. And I liked that colony, wanted to do the idea, and have it surrounded with the Twilight Forest and do a couple other things with it. As I continued through, I knew that I'd need a lot of different resources and a giant plot of land, so I chose this as my base and just a starting area to have stuff. So I tore down some of the tents that was in the trader village and just made a little storage area and made the one tent that I had my main tent. Jumping ahead a little bit in time, I wanted to start messing with the create mod and figuring some of that out, but as you can see, I worked on my base a little bit. The grapes I had collected from that one abandoned village a while back, I placed with some trellises and tried to see how I could get those to grow. As I'm working with a piston to see how that may work on making a mining machine for later. There's also some pots behind that act as just growing pots for different crops and other things. Can't quite remember the mod pack with it, but it's just a way to continuously grow crops with having to replant them each time, and thought they'd be interesting to have. I'll eventually set up a storage system with them later that has a hopper to be able to store everything. But right now I'm struggling with the create mod because it's something I haven't messed with and didn't realize I needed to glue stuff, so that's why it was only the one thing moving. So right now was really just the resource collection stage, trying to just make a mining machine, hoping that would just help me out in a way. I didn't feel like strip mining at the moment, so I was trying to get this all set up, maybe make something simple and be able to use it for just however. The land that I'd eventually use, as you can see, needs to be cleared out still, so I was hoping this would make it go a bit faster. Then I went underground, managed to find an abandoned mine shaft, and just explored through there for what I could, knowing that I need more rails for the create mod. I was using that and just grabbing any of the resources. I knew that the colony I'm doing did have it for the town hall. There's a massive clock that actually works with the create mod, so I wanted to mess with that and get any potential resources I could use. But all the mod packs also have additional ores like the emeralds, or this type of, I guess that's a jade. They have that, and meeting a goblin trader, I'm able to get some bit more rare resources than what I usually have. But just exploring right now, seeing what I can use. And finally managing to get diamonds. I'm just excited to see what other mini ores may be included later, and maybe making something like a mob farm later on. But I don't know quite what I'm gonna do with it, and just getting more of a basic civilization setup base, and really the basic Minecraft stuff on trying to get your resources, build yourself up armor and tool wise, and eventually getting just as many of the resources as you can. In my inventory there is a bee cage, if you can see that, and I do have one of the bee mods where they can produce ores and mob drops and other things, and I eventually want to use that later on to just have a giant resource hub coming in, depending on what other mods there are to make more stuff. And there's crystal for Ars Nouveau that is used to summon a familiar, along with a callus that's one of the trinkets that does help me with not taking damage from hot floors, cactus, anvils, and other things, and also acts as a damage reduction. In a lot of these different parts, you'll see me struggling with trying to make a mining machine, minecart, whatever this was again. I think I was looking at a bunch of different YouTube videos just trying to see what to do with it. It might feel really botched in between because it's going to be me running back and forth, making the drills, actually trying to connect it and get it to work. I've played a bit of the Great mod with a friend and just trying to figure it out. He understood it a lot. He understood it a lot more than I did. So I just sat and did what I usually did on Minecraft sessions and farmed, did other things, and he did all this. So I'm experiencing it for myself now, and I think I eventually give up. But at this point, my field attracted a crow that I was able to tame, and I just started looking through it. There's a couple of different things I could use, and the best representation of them is almost like the Allay from vanilla Minecraft of how they kind of act, but you can get them to sit and have like a home point on a hay bale, I'm pretty sure, and there you could do some type of automation with them, but I'm not that inclined with redstone to be able to do that. After finally managing to tame the crow, I was able to get him to sit on my shoulder and took a break from the machine and finally went back to it and made it a full working machine. I wanted to do it as a mining board to go through that would place and then pick up the tracks as it went along. But I managed to find a winemaker or a wandering winemaker that sold different type of grape seeds to be able to make wine with, and was able to use it to just expand my different grapes that I had. I definitely want to add a lot more wine to be able to make later to explore with the mod, maybe decorate or something. I was going to have my own base and I will definitely build that up later, but right now I'm just operating out of this small tent and just want to gather as many resources that are from different mod packs to eventually go, okay, here's what I have, and just start building like crazy, to be honest. And I'm just excited to see where it will take me, how I will decorate, because I'm not the greatest at decorating in Minecraft. It's usually just simple things and just small bases. But with like this, the macaws, fences, windows, other things, I'd like to be able to decorate a lot more, and I ended up falling in love with these fences that I can make at the moment, which I'm pretty sure are just simple oak fence and gates, and I enjoyed the look as like a corral. And I put the geckotoas in there to let them, or them not be able to wander off, and eventually make a stable or some containment area for them. Now, this is where we really kick off with the Minecolonies mod, and is probably one of my favorite parts to it. So as you can see, there's a lot of different styles that you can choose from, and many different ways you can go to it. Most of them are different areas, like biome wise, like deserts, oak forests, savannas, all of them, even underground, and fortresses. And the one I will be going with is for the Twilight Forest mod, sorry. but I did like the fortress vibe, however you want to call it, for a starting base. And I definitely wanted to do it, have a bit of defense with it, and verticality, because some of them are just little supply carts that don't have much to offer, or they're kind of a tent. But I knew with the stone brick and other things that I would like it, and just everything to it. So this is just starting materials, other things, and very easy to make, but gives you a lot of resources in return for you to use, along with some starting blocks for the mine colonies to place down, like the town hall to be able to start, and you get a build tool right off the bat, and that's how you start. Wherever you place your town hall is the center of town, and you just build from there, and there's a perimeter around it. Another mod I have installed is the minions mod. It's a mod that's been around for a long time. I've always loved it and definitely wanted to use it again. And someone remastered it on CurseForge, and I was able to use it. So instead of a giant mining boar, I was able to use the minions to mine a massive area, and they were the MVP of my whole playthrough at this the length I've made it to. So they, as you can see, that was all hill, and I cleared a massive area out, and what to you guys was no time, but it ended up taking me a long time to do, because I have to set their positions and show them where to go. But the whole area is flat of what I cleared out, and I'm going to start with the town hall and placing that and get my colony started. While they were digging around, I ended up deciding on a place to put it and made a little dirt pillar for it to be in. So being the center of the colony, um, yeah, the town hall is gonna be the biggest spot for it, and I knew I wanted it there. And as you can see, that's what it's gonna look at going into the spectator mode or whatever I had again. And I'm able to kind of change it around and get an above view of it, which I love. This, I use it to look at my whole thing, kind of playing out where I want stuff, and I love this spot. Just a good kind of cinematic view of the whole area where my colony will be kind of staying. This is the level 5 with the create clock to it that will stay with the time of day, and that's what kind of the end goal will be. That's going to be level 5, building it up, and I love the look. So going back to level 1 on it, got it placed, and my colony has started. So the pack is called Fairy Tale, which is part of the Twilight Forest, and I was able to create my own colony. So that being the start, there on the mini map there is a border of what is my colony layout right now. You can expand it when you get more buildings in and they get closer to the edge. So right now I'm getting a builder down to be able to actually start building stuff, and here's the supply list of what it will need. I cleared it out a bit more, and was just able to get a good look at everything. The villagers for the colony will kind of work on their own and do their own things, but really at the beginning you have to micromanage them a lot, because their inventory will fill up, or it'll be a bunch of different things. But I don't have the resources for what they need now, so I made a nature's compass to find a spruce forest to help me get that resources, and it's the biggest lifesaver here, because I can look up any biome and go to it and be able to get the resources. With my trinket, I'm able to traverse the water a lot quicker, which I love, and manage to find kind of this white sand shores and a lot of different cool resources that I'd love to use later on. There was one of the type of bees over there, this small Stonehenge like structure, and just cool to look at. Found another lucky block with some mob heads, so I'm glad to find those, and a massive pumpkin forest, or pumpkin field if you will, and I made it to Spruce Village, and there were massive wolves, which honestly scared me at first, but I found out that they are tameable. There was a small witch that you could fight that had a lot of health and other things, so I was going to try and fight it and not die. While fighting this witch, I was hoping it was just a regular witch. It was not. It shot fireballs at me and ended up poisoning me, so I tried to run away in the meantime and regenerate my health and not die. Realizing I could tame the direwolves, I hopped on its back and tried to tame it. They had a lot more speed than the Gekatoa, so I was excited to see how good of a mount they would be. They did take me a minute though to tame, but there was quite a few that I believe I end up taming in this just area for right now. After exploring around and leaving the witch alone, I managed to find a Tear of the Sea, which gave me 150% movement speed in water. So I was excited for that, especially later on for different underwater adventures and or just exploration, because I know there's a dungeon mod which adds a giant Leviathan boss to fight later on. So having that extra swim speed will definitely be I will be grateful for if I come to fighting that and I manage to find the Coliseum it spawns in. However, I did manage to tame the direwolf just in time and throw a saddle on him because the witch was after me again, so I was now running away again, trying to get away from her because I knew she had a couple different abilities, and with the resistance and a couple other things, she'd be hard to defeat, so I was just going to leave her alone for right now. And I managed to get a maggot. I don't know how I got that, but I ended up picking some up. But I love the look of this Spruce Village, and I had a lightning rod trinket that she shot a lightning bolt at me and I guess protected me, or I shot one at her. I'm not quite for sure, but it started setting a couple of the buildings on fire and some of the trees. But I was gonna try to take her out if I could. While fighting her, I ended up having a tougher time than I thought and got launched in the air and died to fall damage. So that sucks, and I had a random status effect, which I'm pretty sure is to the lightning. Only bad part is I did not reset my spawn in the or I set my spawn in the tower and forgot about that. So I destroyed the bed and jumped to my death to then go back to spawn. But I came across a little mushroom trader house and traded with some mushroom traders and found this item that was almost like a totem in a way, or maybe a golden apple. But I found another lucky block that gave me a chest of some various items that would definitely be helpful. I was taking more of the long way around to get home and managed to come across a bee's nest that's a part of the 1B mod in almost autumn forest. Then there is a campsite for some illagers, and one of them is from I can't remember the mod. There's so many, but one of them was a special type of illager that would definitely kick my butt. And I just decided to keep exploring. Came across a vanilla spruce village with a lot of different resources in this chest that I'm glad to get. And I also found a wart stone, which I was glad to get as well, because then I could wart from different places and be able to just traverse as I want, and most villages have them, which I'm grateful for. I was trying to get this iron golem to lock onto the switch and start fighting her, but he wasn't exactly too ready to fight, and then I pushed him down and he was. but I got poisoned at the same time and couldn't exactly make it to my corpse to reclaim my stuff. But I knew if I could defeat her here with the help of the golem, I'd be golden. And in the process of hitting her, I hit the iron golem and died again. So it was back to traversing all the way back to the village and just laughing at my stake along the way. And luckily, I do remember to set my spawn in the Spruce Village and came across a type of slug, yeah, banana slug. And the texture was a little screwed up, but it had a trail behind it, but they were pretty cool to see. I'm loving all the different creatures mod. Came across another lucky block that gave me some portal end frames, so maybe I could set a portal up at my house. Although, I got crushed by an anvil on the way there, so kinda sucks, but still a little funny. I just enjoy the mods where I can and take them with a grain of salt. Supplementaries added some ash for buildings that have been burned, which I thought was cool, and found another wavestone next to a resin bead that I would hopefully catch later. But now I can come back to the village anytime with just a simple warping. And I swapped my inventories really quick so that way I could go drop a lot of the stuff I collected off, and then I'd eventually go back to my corpse and collect all of it again. Just, it was definitely a successful adventure of finding all the different things, and I was definitely happy about everything that I got. And finally, my nether portal had been incomplete for a long time, and I finally got more obsidian to finish it off. I then went back to the Spruce Village and got my dire wolves back after lagging out a bunch, and wanted to bring them home so they could stay with me. And I was excited to see the many different mobs I could get from the mod, sorry, and just see what I could find. I love the waystones though, because most pets, or really any pets, you can get them to teleport with you, and I found out the botany pots also grow trees for you, so you really just have a limitless supply of trees. While cutting down the dark oak trees, I cut away some of my wall with the one mod, I forget, the excavator mod, if you will. But then I remembered there was the abandoned colony, which luckily for me had a bunch of different of the blocks that would, just the building blocks to say that you could set the buildings for. So I went and raided those so I wouldn't have to craft them. I kept terraforming to clear out my area and just did really more planning of where I wanted to put different things. And so it's like my builders' huts, some of the houses, and a couple other things, but a lot of varying styles on them, which I was excited to see how it would look in the end. But I knew I wanted to add a bunch of streets, other things that would go through more as decoration. But luckily the mod has a lot of decorative features, and I also have like the fairy light mod, a bunch of others that I would love to add more to. Now I'll let you enjoy this little sequence of me exploring the different buildings and trying to just figure out how I wanted to place everything. Now, after that full montage of me building and running around with it like a chicken with its head cut off, I now have the Twilight Forest activated and I jump right in. This is where I love this part. Honestly, I've wanted to play the Twilight Forest mod for so long, and finally getting to, I'm really happy and just excited to be able to. And one of the things I love that I came across is the Firefly Jar, the Ravens, just everything to it. This was a mod I grew up with, and it's amazing to be able to be able to play it now and experience it in its full glory. So really, it was just me exploring around, a bunch of things I forgot about, but I dug down after hearing a bunch of noises and found some mobs in this little hill dungeony type thing. A lot of different ores that I could use, and so I was gonna get as many as I could and probably come back later and gather more up. I did come across another trinket called the Ore Magnet, and I didn't know how it worked, but it just kind of pulls ores to you with the stone or other blocks that are up and around it. I thought it was going to move a lot closer to me or however, but it really just trades places with stone or whatever is closer, which is really cool because if you're close to it or something like you're over lava, it'd be something really useful. But coming across these swarm spiders, the little goblins, and a bunch of other things was weird to come across, but it's pretty cool to see just these mobs in action. But they're still pretty tough, and I had to kind of be wary of them. After grabbing ores and coming across some diamonds, which I was grateful for, I ended up taming some wolves that I wanted to work with later. There was a mod I was looking at beforehand called Doggy Talents, and with it, you can train your wolves to do a lot more than just run around and attack like they usually do. And I was excited to see what it would do. Some of them will give your dogs ability, make them stronger, just a bunch of other things, but there are also a lot more animations that are added, so they'll maybe wag their tails a bit more, scratch their heads, even do flips, a bunch of other things they can do. And I was excited to experiment with it later on. But I came across a book that had a bit more information with the Twilight Forest mod. I couldn't quite remember everything to it, but like I'd said before, I was excited to see it. Not realizing I couldn't quite progress to this area, the rain was hurting me, and I forgot there was kind of borders in between each area that you had to defeat the boss beforehand to be able to move on to. I wanted to stop my guards from attacking different golems. There were the Plenty of Golems mod that I wanted to have a bunch of golems just wandering around and didn't want my guards to start hurting them and in turn hurting each other or however and causing more damage than I would like. But I cleared out this massive area, and when I was looking around, I saw a meteor had landed nearby from the Astro mod or whichever one it is that allows you to go to space. I thought that'd be fun later on if I ever got to it or kind of do in between, but I was kind of weirded out by the meteor crashing nearby. I didn't really know about it, but still pretty cool that it was there. It wasn't there when I first got there because I walked through that area before, and just seeing this was really cool. So I started breaking it apart, messing with the different coal blocks and other things, and just checking out what was in there. Didn't know if I'd get something quite rare, but the diamonds were still appreciated. My builder did end up getting stuck with the seats from the I can't remember mods from the Create mod, and it ends up kind of becoming a problem later on because they get stuck on the seats quite a lot, and they're included in a lot of different builds. But while I was AFK for a second looking at my phone or something, one of the villagers I had ended up getting struck by lightning, and there'll be a little lightning effect when something might get struck by lightning. so I decided it'd be best to sleep soon, hopefully before more things got struck by lightning or something got burnt down. I was trying to mess with the lightning rod a little bit more before I did, and wanted to see kind of the status effect and how it worked a little bit more. But when I woke up, more things were on fire, and I had to act as my own fire brigade and put a lot of different things out. But moving on, my town hall finally got finished, which I was excited about. It was really my first building to get, or it was my first building to be done, and being the centerpiece of my colony, it was excited to see that that first step was done. I guess it wasn't my first building, the other two were done first. But I wanted to get the Forster's hut going because all I had right now were some containers that worked as my wood supply. And I managed to get a delivery building done that would eventually be able to support different buildings just carrying around resources for me. And got my kitchen done, which was pretty cool to see, and the villager was already waiting there. I was looking at different fence types and settled on this to decorate my colony with, which I was excited for to see. I knew I wanted quite a lot and definitely want to experiment with it more. There's a lot of different combinations you can use and a lot of different mods, but I decided on this kind of grass wall type to put along with different things. And there's also a that display mod, if you were just able to see that when you're crafting something, it will kind of float above and display it. I also want to do some type of walkway with stuff and kind of have them up and around, but currently I was just mapping to see where I wanted different things, trying to give it a good actual style to it and just kind of go along with it. So I pulled out my build tool to kind of see and make sure it was on the edge of each build and just encase up and around and decorate. I definitely will end up changing them later, but this was just first step, seeing how I wanted them to be, but was just going to go all out and decorate being the fairy tale style just to see how it would look. So currently I just looked at it and I'm currently on day 45. Felt like a big accomplishment for me at least because I'm 45 days into this and just preparing for what I'm going to go do. So I believe I capped it off at day 50, but I wanted to kind of do 100 days, but knew I loved this series too much and want to keep playing, so I hope everyone watching will love it as much as I did. I'm pretty sure right now I'm equipping to go into the Twilight Forest. Yes, I'm going into the Twilight Forest to go start looking for the bosses of the Twilight Forest. Very first one was Naga, and which is a massive serpent in a maze. I was looking through the different items and ended up getting the hero sword from the hero villager, and that's from the Lucky Block mod. And I was going through enchanting each thing, knowing that I could get better weapons and equipment later on, but thought I'd just settle for iron equipment right now since I spent all my diamonds on the hero sword. But diving into the Twilight Forest, I had to find Naga's maze, which ended up being a longer trek than I thought it would, but it works out in the end. The Twilight Forest ended up being very laggy for me, and I guess so. Looking back at it, I ended up finding Naga's temple beforehand and marked it on my map to be able to go back to it later. I was loving the stone on the outside and definitely was thinking about using it later on. Naga finally spawned in, and I prepared myself for what I was going to have to do for it and just getting my inventory and everything ready. As you go through, I will just kind of let the fight go, but enjoy. And after finally defeating Naga, I was super happy about it. Got 12 Naga scales and Naga's trophy head. I was just glad with the outcome. Felt a little overprepared for the fight. It got a little interesting there for a little bit, but I was happy with it. Got to check out the trophy and kind of go on. After leaving, I managed to find the one giant ram, or the quest ram is what it is, and I knew it needed each type of wool, but I'd deal with it later. But just overall happy with the fight. Didn't quite know how it would go at first, and as you saw, ended up kind of lagging out, so I restarted my game and continued the fight. Otherwise, it was not too bad, and just went along with it, but had a really good time with it, and it was fun. I did make a magic map to kind of see where to go next, and I believe it's the Lich King next, or whichever one it is, the Witch's Tower, or Lich's Tower, I forget which one. But made my way over there and figured I'd just continue with the winning streak and just take out a couple different bosses as quick as I could. So going through, I just explored the tower for a little while, which was fun. I enjoyed moving around. There's a lot of different areas, some harder mobs like this zombie, some creepers ended up falling on me throughout my time running through all of it, but otherwise it was a really good time doing it. The Naga fight, I think, what I'll do is I will probably go grab some stone and use it as kind of like a lining for the different streets or other things, just to add something to it. But found another charm that is kind of like a life up heart in a way, or just adds more life, something with it. But exploring through, I think my hardest time was finding the skeletons. Their range and the massive amount of stairs and different levels was kind of hard to traverse, but wasn't too bad. One of the things I loved about the tower was the different paintings that went along with it. And well, and really quick, as you can see, got my first CD. I let the skeletons shoot the creeper and got another life up heart as well. But in the tower there's a lot of paintings, and I have some additional mods that add more paintings to the game, so it's cool to see the variety of different ones that I could get later on, and just all of them really in one place. As I kind of snuck my way up the stairs after fighting off a bunch of mods, I managed to meet the Twilight Lich. I really didn't know how to fight him. I didn't exactly watch a YouTube video coming in or anything, so I just really kept swinging my sword at him, just trying to figure out what to do. It was an interesting fight at first because didn't feel like I was doing any damage and didn't really know just how to approach him on it. So it was more of a trial and error, just hitting him and seeing if I had to break through all of his shield or what it was. I still don't even know, I'll be completely honest. But finally started doing damage to him and just took it. I would say it's the fireballs. I probably need a launch back, but in the time I was just hitting him as much as I could and really just having the time of my life with it. So, and just, yeah, it was a good time. Just watching him, I saw his shield slowly going down and didn't know what his drops were, but afterwards I get a staff that summons zombies and a couple other things, which isn't too bad. But right here, get to the final part after taking down his clones and his shields, get a little overwhelmed by the zombies, so I drink the hero's potion just to help me out a little bit, and it really just helps me annihilate him, taking out the extra zombies and everything else. But so finally, after defeating him, got the achievement for that, and his chest spawned. I had a lot of the different stones from Naga's maze with me, but just really glad to have that fight over with. Got the zombie scepter and the Lich's trophy, so threw the more valuable things into my backpack. A lot of the gold armor I wasn't too keen on keeping, but figured I'd take it with me for some of my guards and some of the weapons, just some of the things for them to use. The zombie scepter, I didn't really know. It had a lot of good things to it, but or the zombies were pretty good to it, but I didn't know how I wanted to use it or if I wanted to even use it at all. But I figured I'd just head back to my portal and drop a bunch of things off for right now. Placing down the trophies, I was able to interact with them and then make the noises from the different bosses. And then I was messing around with a bunch of the paintings I ended up collecting from the tower, just seeing what different options there were. And there were a lot of cool ones that I'm excited to eventually decorate with or do something with. And some classics, new ones from multiple mods, and a lot of different ones. It's cool. I do wish Vanilla Minecraft added a lot of new ones, but it's kind of one of those things. It is what it is. That's why mods are here and why I enjoy them so much. But altogether, pretty good time in the Twilight Forest. And with the trophies now, I would make a trophy room, but nice thing is it with it is the town hall. You can display the trophies at level 5 and have them up and around. So that's pretty nice because that means I don't have to later. I then really just continued on decorating, made a little stair area to the kitchen and then something else. I can't remember what else was over there. And just still really cool to see the high levels and high level buildings and see where I can get to with it. But I just spent the last couple days just decorating and wanting to make everything look nicer. I then set down a waystone on top of the pathway that I had placed down and started placing up and around. I messed with a bunch of stone types of mossy stone, stone brick stairs, and just other things as my pathways. This was in front of my storage building that was currently being constructed, but just getting a general path, I wanted one up and around. I was then looking at a bunch of the different lanterns to see the types I wanted, and there was a couple different hanging ones that had different the poles were either wooden or metal all the way through, and wanted to see how I would do that. I didn't know if I wanted to do more like a light post or just have them along the stone walls that went up and around. Now looking, I am on day 50, so it's kind of one of those things of, in my book, being a crunch time. I just got a general look around trying to see what else I wanted to finish up being day 50. I was going to try to make it like my last day, however, and do that as a good stopping point for this first video. So I wanted to light up the area, just make sure that no more mobs were spawning in massive hordes like they already had been, and just terraforming, changing things around, adding basalt, a lot of other things, just messing around with the path because I didn't know what theme I wanted it to be, but I knew I wanted it to be different, just going up and around. I did manage to get the courier going, and he got stuck in the town hall, so had to help him out a little bit with the carry-on mod. That makes that really nice to use. But other than that, just got back to work and building back my pathway. as we reach the final stretch of the video, I just want to say I hope any and everyone who watched this, that they enjoyed it. This took me a lot longer than I thought it would. If you can't tell in the recording, I recorded at a lot of different times and doing a voiceover over it, or over the whole entire video. But I just hope you enjoyed and that my voice didn't get too irritating while I did this. I plan to just play regularly my next time on maybe the next 50 days or however I decide to do it. But this was the progress I made. I got my colony started where I wanted to, got a lot of the pathing done, and just made it look as nice as I could for right now. But once again, just I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's any specific thing you want to see or anything that I can maybe add to help it out. And just thank you so much for watching.